So welcome back to another Impact Sessions podcast with me, Nick Bramley. I've got a great guest today. Today's guest is Martin Bennett. He's managing director of a company called Reet Yorkshire Food. We've called this podcast Changing Your Life, One Jar of Jam or Chutney at a Time. So here to explore what that's all about. Welcome to the podcast, Martin.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, sir.
Good to see you, and good to see your branding behind. For those who are watching it on video, he's dropped his branding in behind him, which is excellent to see. We'll start with that, shall we? Reet Yorkshire Food. First of all, absolutely brilliant name.
Thank you.
I mean, I'd like to explore the backstory really as we go through the episode, but just tell us a little bit about what Reet Yorkshire Food is and does and what your produce is.
Reet Yorkshire Food is a manufacturer of jams, chutneys, marmalades, relishes, basically all in one jar size of 340 grams. Starting off really with targeting markets and food shows and events, looking to put into more high-end delis and garden centres, and potentially the Selfridges and the John Lewis of this world, steering clear of the multiples and the mass market.
Okay, I mean, the multiples of mass market is a very different dynamic, isn't it, in terms of that? We'll explore a bit maybe about the independents and the farmers markets and that kind of stuff. I think from what you've just said off air, you've come off a very busy 4 or 5 days, haven't you? Do you want to explain what the middle of last week, right through the sort of Mother's Day weekend was all about for you?
Yeah, we've carried on doing our regular markets, so Knaresborough Market on a Wednesday, Ripon Market on a Thursday, and then we did Living North at York Racecourse Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Also sneaked in another market, Otley Farmers Market, on the Sunday as well. So, resources were a bit stretched, but you go where the business is now.
Excellent. And because you're all sort of in the Yorkshire area, is the branding of Reet Yorkshire Food going down well?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's obviously a very catchy brand, and you see people walking past the stall, even if they don't stop and buy, you see them chuckling away, oh, Reet Yorkshire. And we also say have a really good day and little play on words as they're walking past. And it is very, very catchy. Yeah, definitely. Good
stuff. It has a little sort of Yorkshire connotation for those outside of Yorkshire, have a perception of what Yorkshire people are and how we talk, and people sort of tag onto that as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I think Yorkshire is described as the food capital of the north. So specifically, I think Malton is very sort of very prominent in food and food markets and local food hotels and restaurants and delicatessens. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, well, listen, let's explore your background a little bit. You've got a lot of experience in food manufacture. You've done operations, account management, distribution, purchasing, and probably, I would imagine, a whole lot more if you put your CV together. How much ambition have you had to set up your own food production company, and for how long have you had that ambition?
I think it's always been an ambition. I've tried it once before. I had a brand called Real Yorkshire Food, and I got very established with Netto food stores. I was turning over 10 grand a week, paying on 5 days terms. Unfortunately, all my eggs in one basket, which is a learning curve that I'll never do again. Asda come along and buy Netto for 750 million, and so unfortunately we have our own suppliers. So that was that, and cost me 350k. So that was an expensive learning curve. And then I went back into the food industry, working for a couple of larger manufacturers, and a couple of larger manufacturers, and decided to do it again, really.
Was there a catalyst for that, Martin? Was there a catalyst for that sort of decision?
I was furloughed and made redundant I joined a mother and daughter business making jams, and then that was taken over. The mother was very poorly, and the daughter didn't want to carry on her own. So basically, they sold the business. I worked for the new owners for a while, and then I was furloughed and made redundant. And then the time came, really, it was to set up on my own, doing a similar sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's a food business. Called Reet Yorkshire Food. I'm not pigeonholed into jams, chutneys, relishes, and that sort of product. If it'll come through the door, be processed in a food safe way, in a 5-star hygiene food rating premises, and it's commercially viable, I'll have a look at it. I've recently launched a couple of contract packing jobs with a what's called a giardiniera, which is a vegetable in rapeseed oil and vinegar, and a chili jam, which is a new product for me. It's a learning curve for me, but she's also about to launch 3 chili oils. So expanding the business into contract manufacturing and also trying to push the own brand at the same time.
Okay, I mean, that's an interesting early-ish diversity, because we're going to explore the timing, really. We're in a global pandemic, restrictions are stop-start, hospitality's smashed to bits in terms of taking a big hit, retail have got supply chain issues, and in August 2020, you go, I'll tell you what, why not? Let's do Reet Yorkshire food, sort of 5 months after we didn't know what we didn't know. I've written down here, mad, opportunistic, or essential on a personal level just to get the Reet move done. So what was your thoughts in August 2020 when you decided, yeah, go on then, let's do it?
I was still made redundant, and I felt at the time that I was unemployable due to my age, and I really sort of felt, it's time to work for myself. So I sort of found the premises. I had an operations manager working for me who was pretty much a pot washer in the previous business, and I gave him the opportunity and the chance, and he grasped it with both hands, and he was really enthusiastic, and he helped me build the unit. Unfortunately, I got wiped out with COVID in November 2020 for 6 weeks. Whilst I'm in hospital, getting my head round, getting myself better, he actually died of COVID. So it was a bit of a blow to the business at that point. So I came out of hospital Christmas Eve, 4 stone lighter, and ready to build a business again. And the tests confirmed I then had leukemia, so I've had a bit of chemo for that. And touch wood, things are going in the right direction, and it should be 7 to 12 years before I have to go back there. So effectively, through one reason or another, the brand isn't built as much as I would have anticipated at this stage of the business. But now we're firing on all cylinders. I've put 5 stone back on. And I feel bulletproof at the moment, and COVID itself is effectively now just effectively a cold, isn't it? So I think the fear's gone out of that. The hotels are coming back. Hopefully the railways will come back. There's a lot of business there to be had for your first class travel customers.
I tell you what, I love that bulletproof thing. You haven't put 5 stone back on after losing 4 stone, though, Martin, surely. I mean, I know people say when you lose sort of weight quickly and through health issues, it does have a fluctuation, but it's fair to say that you had a very sort of start-stop beginning to the whole kind of Reet experience. But I've been watching the business for a while, and I have certainly seen that upward curve. It's almost like a hockey stick, isn't it? You had that little dip in the start, and now you're on the upward trajectory. I absolutely love your brand. I like the name. The name's great, but the brand is really clean as well, isn't it? It's really crisp. So what was important when you established the brand, and how did you come about and settle on the labeling, that position in the market? It's very crowded, the sort of jams and chutneys and all that kind of thing. How did you settle on it? What did you do, and how did you decide to stand out in that particular crowd?
I think when I found this unit in Ripon, I tried various areas to get a unit, and everybody wanted like 3 months, 3 months bond and 3 months rent in advance. And I stumbled upon these units, which are brand spanking new, and I'm built on the end of industrial estate behind the grammar school. Nobody knows we're here. There's 8 units, and we've got a bit of a niche down here. We've got somebody who makes filling machines. We've got a laundry business, a speaker business, a cleaning business. So we've got a bit of a mix, and we all sort of feed off each other in terms of different skill sets, and helping each other with each other's businesses. As part of that, somebody recommended a bookkeeper, and the same guy next door recommended a brand management couple who at the time worked for themselves, worked for another business, and have now started working for themselves. Very, very experienced in launching brands and what works and what colours go with what. So we spent money with them. They designed the website, and basically it's grown arms and legs. I've restricted my products to 5 jams, 5 marmalades, 5 chutneys, 5 relishes, Eventually, I will expand them, but the cost of artwork and origination to do 1 or 2 jars when you're doing 20 at a time, it's significant. But we have to go with the market, and we have to adapt to the market. But we're in a stage now where we don't want to be all things to all men. We're happy with the range we've got.
Well, you're better off being a specialist, aren't you? And seen as, those are your core products. And like you say, you can expand into new products, you can expand into contract packaging, do other things later on. But I think building that following, the loyalty that you've got at the markets and the farmers markets, and, starting to get the brand out there, it makes sense to start with the big 5, as you would say, across that range, really. So, yeah, it's gone down really well. I know that. But I want to expand upon food manufacture, which is notoriously and quite rightly heavily regulated. So how hard is it to take that idea and concept into a manufacturing facility, and how long did it take to set up Ripon, and how long did it take to go from the idea to your first production run?
I think with the food experience I've got from leaving school at 16, I've worked in sausages, cheese manufacturing, bacon manufacturing, ham manufacturing, on the operational side and the technical side and the sales side. So I've got a vast knowledge of experience, and I know, for want of a better term, I know how to please the local AHO, even if it's just by asking them what they think rather than what you think, and get a steer on that. And I know what's required from a premises perspective, in terms of your clean room, your dirty room, your walls, and the structure and the feel of the place effectively. I have got a 5-star food rating from the local council, and we are now pushing on to get SALSA accreditation, which will open more doors for myself and for the contract manufacturers into your John Lewis and your Selfridges and your Fenwicks and your bigger operators.
I'm assuming some of those bigger operators have those requirements, and without them, you're not even going to get to the table, are you, really? I would
Absolutely, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were your biggest early challenges? We've obviously talked about the health issues and the horrific situation with your partner who sadly passed away with COVID, and you forget that to a certain extent 2 years down the line that was a real and difficult period for many people. On the food production side, the manufacturing side, the branding side, what were the earliest challenges that you can remember going back to sort of August, September, October of that particular launch?
I think the challenges are more financial, in terms of how much it actually costs to establish the premises and kit the place out effectively, building of the rooms, and getting the kit to do it. I started off with a small business loan, had a couple of little bits of grant funding here and there, but we struggle on, but we're starting to come out the other end. I think with the contract packing, it'll be a game changer. It'll allow me to invest more into automation of jar labeling and boxing and that sort of thing. Yeah, and that's where we are.
And that's the economies of scale, isn't it? I guess I've done quite a bit of work with Wold Top Brewery, who in their early days were brewing for themselves, and over a number of years have then become a bottling and brewing agent for other sort of smaller independent breweries, which is where they started from, and that was their game changer, with bottling plants and automation and that kind of stuff, I guess. Let's go back to your core product range. They're all beautifully prepared and presented, and I've mentioned that, and I like your gift boxes that you've got that go with presenting them. One of the things you mentioned off air was that you've got a gift box, but you put the stickers on depending upon whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas. That's just a simple idea for a small business, not to be beholden to packaging, isn't it, really? I mean, where did that little simple idea come from?
Well, to be fair, we started off with a Christmas gift box, and with 3 products in there, and it was printed all on the outside of the box exactly what was in there. And people will start saying, "Can I take this out and put this in?" Well, no, you can't, because the actual box says what's inside the box, and you can't give that somebody as a present. So we decided then to go a plain gift box and have the ability to adapt that to different sort of occasions, Mother's Day, Father's Day, And the next stage from that is I'm looking at having the label printer in house, a simple label printer that can put happy birthday and even potentially have it on the market store, and you can actually put somebody's name on it. So happy birthday, Peter or Paul or whoever, and really try and personalize it in that respect. And all those little things, it's just little touches. We allow them now to do a pick and mix gift box. Any 3 marmalades, 3 chutneys, a chutney trio, a marmalade trio, or a jam trio, or mix and match anything.
And that's because your bottles are all standard size, and therefore, from a point of view of looking good, sitting in the boxes and presentation. And again, was that a deliberate move in the early days that we're just going to do this one size of bottling?
Definitely, yeah. I've seen before where you've had 3 or 4 different sizes, and I think it just confuses things, and also sort of forces you to hold more stock holding as well. More labels, more packaging, more jars, more lids, more of everything, really.
Okay. Well, one of the biggest challenges, anyone who watches The Apprentice will know this, that one of the biggest challenges with something like local food manufacture is scaling production. So how has the business developed in terms of volumes over the last couple of years, and what is the plan in terms of being able to scale up over the next maybe 18 months, 2 years going forward? There must be some issues around that.
I think we are where we are in terms of the size of batches that we cook. I think we've tried doing double and trebling the size of the batches, and I think you lose control over it. I think small batch cooking is definitely the way forward. Sorry, somebody came in my office, so he's gone now. Small batch cooking. Historically, in the jam business, we've used all frozen veg and frozen fruit, Chinese and Polish strawberries. To do that, you have to have a massive freezer space to have the economies of scale to buy in and absorb the transport costs of delivery. I haven't got that fridge freezer space, so that forced me into using fresh ingredients, which with hindsight is a great thing, great move forward, because we've tested the products, panel them, benchmark them against each other, and the fresh is certainly better. Yes, there's a lot more labor intensive in terms of prepping the veg, but I've got a decent dicing machine and mincer now that we can actually do that. I buy the strawberries from a local farmer, strawberries and raspberries from a local farmer, the eggs from a local farmer for the lemon curd, and we think that keeping it in smaller batches, even though we've got a big cooker, smaller batches gives you more control and more consistent quality.
And I guess you've got shelf life as everything. They've got sell-by dates and stuff, so you don't want to be left with stock that's running up to a deadline, do you really?
It's an ambient product. I've worked in cooked meats with 3-day shelf life, and apart from, frozen's obviously the dream at the other end of the scale, but with this, it's an ambient product that's, it can be 2 years shelf life. We're still going through shelf life testing to make sure it does last the 2 years, but we've put a year on everything now, so we've got plenty of time to use it.
Okay. I know you just started working with your other half, Alyssa, who I know really well from a previous role, and I know you got some big sort of ambitions for the sales and the marketing and the brand awareness, and that's where Alyssa's background comes from. How do you, as a smaller business, focus your time on the balance between the need to manufacture product with the need to get out there and be regularly promoting and whether it's social media, whether it's physical face-to-face market presence? How do you get that timing right to do the right thing?
I think you have to talk to every customer at least once a week. So if you're not talking to them, somebody else is. I used to talk to Morrison's for like 3 hours on a Friday afternoon, and I'm thinking, well, I'm on the phone 3 hours. I think in them days you could talk about football and going out for a beer and whatever everything else. I think that the dynamics have changed within the multiples now. All they want to talk about is numbers. Do you crack a funny with them and straight over the head? It's I think the personality has gone out of the multiple business. But with your independent chefs and independent retailers and delicatessens, you can certainly build a rapport with them. But it's all then about price and quality and having that point of difference, because there's a lot of players in the artisan jam market.
Yeah, they are. I would imagine even at Living North, this sort of big food and gifts event at York Racecourse, there'll have been 3 or 4, if not more, others who are doing similar stuff to you. So you got to build that loyalty and stand out, haven't you?
Yeah, I think we purposely look at certain exhibitions where we are the only jam or chutney manufacturer. I think there's somebody else doing pickle and somebody else doing honey, but we had the spread of the range of artisan preserves, for want of a better term.
Excellent. Okay, and how do you think the brand loyalty and the brand awareness is going with the likes of your market stalls, the likes of your independent delis? Are you getting lots of repeat customers who are now, Reet Yorkshire food fans, as it were?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, we're gaining a tremendous following on Facebook and social media, and I think that's where Alyssa comes in. That she's a social media expert. Obviously, we're taking 2 weeks out in June to get married in Zanzibar, but that's a bit of a distraction. But with the technology, that might be millions of miles away.
I'll be honest with you. You've publicly called your wedding a bit of a distraction in a podcast episode, Martin. I think there's going to be consequences for that phrase, young man.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you've got a lot going on. You're looking at making sure you're continuing to talk to your customers, build the brand awareness, and repeat those sort of touch points, as it were. You mentioned exploring exciting other opportunities. Do you want to just explain on this contract packaging bit? Because I know you mentioned it being a game changer. We didn't really explore it when you said so. How does that work for a small business like you? What is contract packaging and what does it mean to you?
Well, I've got the facility and I've got the jars and the lids, and I've got a food grade ready factory. Basically, if it will come in one door and be commercially viable to be cooked and processed and out the other door, then it works. I mean, a lot of people don't want to get their hands dirty in terms of manufacturing side, but they're quite happy to sell their own brands and they know what they want. But it's having the skill set and the confidence to basically turn their idea into a product. And I'm looking for more contract packing. I've got a couple of chutney manufacturers from London going to come up soon to visit the factory and try and do some business there.
So you mentioned chili oil being one of them. Is that someone extracting the oil from chilies and then jarring it and making it into a shelf product? Is that as simple as it sounds?
It's basically it's chilies and a minced vegetable, for want of a better term, in rapeseed oil. The chili itself, the mixture itself is cooked, and then it sits in the bottom 2/3 of the jar with the oil as a topping, effectively. But we've got 3 of those: a Korean, Indian, and Italian.
And are these popular food types to those particular markets? As in Italians would see that on a shelf, like they see pesto as just a natural thing. They would see that on a shelf and say, we're used to buying that. Is that kind of what you're looking at then?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's not my brand, but I won't be marketing those products. But the giardiniera is vegetables in rapeseed oil and vinegar, and apparently that comes as a side dish all over Italy, albeit it was invented in Chicago. So with multicultural customers in the UK, I think, yeah, you're sending it into certain retailers who have that customer base.
I mean, there's a lot of specialist Italian delis and stuff, isn't there, around? And, that in itself would be a good shelf space for that particular customer.
Definitely.
You don't really care as long as that customer's got customers themselves, because they'll just need your contract packaging services, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of contract backing is you pay, you charge them X works. Once it leaves your door, you get paid, and you're not standing the credit for their retailers, effectively.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so let's go back over the journey of the last two and a bit years. Well, no, 2 years or so. What have you learned about yourself over the course of the launch and development of Reet Yorkshire Food? You come from a proper food operational background. Have you been on a journey yourself? Is it different as the business owner and the person developing the brand? What have you learned about Martin Bennett?
I've learned about my adaptability really, and I knew it was always there, but I think my drive and enthusiasm to grow this business, and I see it as a 10-year plan to retirement effectively. I have the experience in other business that's grown from startup to selling for 20 million. So I know the opportunities are there. If I've got a spread of customers and I'm not, obviously not pigeonholed and nobody's name above my door, I'll have a business that's viable and sellable within 10 years, hopefully.
That netto lesson, quite a one to learn, isn't it? Because it makes the business less saleable, ironically, even though you've got regular contract, but because of the danger of that all eggs in one basket. Yeah. So this is about diversification, spreading the Reet Yorkshire love, I guess, is it, across as many customer touch points as possible?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So what does that look like? Let's pan forward. Let's assume we've broken the back of this pandemic, and like you say, now it's nowhere near the impact it was having in the early days. Let's say we get another couple of clear years. Where do you reckon you're going to be in terms of towards that 10-year plan? Because you're going to have stepping stones, aren't you? Are we talking about taking on staff? Are we talking about increasing the size of the unit? Are we talking about, what does the immediate future look like for you, Martin?
I think I have to sweat the asset here. I'm currently on probably cooking 3 days a week. There's 7 days in a week. There's potential of 3 shifts in a day, 24 hours a day, 3 8-hour shifts. So I've got a lot of capacity here. If I can put automation into the lidding and labelling side, then I won't massively increase my labour bill by too much, but I will cost it in how much labour is into each project that I take on. And with the shelf life, it allows me to produce in longer runs and basically put more stock on the shelf and produce longer on one variety, which is less cleaning of the cookers and less cleaning down of the day-to-day facility.
So I guess that's operational efficiency at its best, isn't it, really?
Massively, yes, definitely, yeah.
Okay, and that puts pressure on Alyssa then to go out and sell all those jars that you've made that are extra on the 2 and 3 shifts and the extra batches and things. So is she up for the task? Is she?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. I mean, she's still on. She's been in with me 3 weeks now, so she's got a week left of her probation. I haven't signed the contract yet, but we make a good team in our personal life, and hopefully that will transpire into our working life. But we're in the fortunate position where at the moment people are coming to us to stock our products. They're hearing good things about our products, and quality is number one. If it's not right, it doesn't go out the door. We're not cutting any corners.
I do love the bravery of a Yorkshireman who's also already called his wedding a distraction and has now publicly said that his wife's on 4-week probation in the new role. I'm loving how Reet that feels, Martin, to be honest. So brave man.
I think distraction was a distraction to the business, not a distraction for me.
Oh, too late to qualify it, I'm afraid, man, my friend. So anyway, so going back to an earlier question, looking back on where you are now, does it feel mad, opportunistic, or are you now just backing yourself to be successful? Does it feel like it was the right move at the right time and it's working?
It definitely feels like the right time now. I think now the gloves are off in terms of the COVID and the restrictions and
well, you've got your health issues back, haven't you? You're back to full glory in terms of that, apart from 5 stone extra.
Yeah, 15.7 now. So I came out of the hospital 11 stone. But now the leisure market's coming back. I mean, it's not just about retail jars. It's about the chefs and the delis behind the restaurants and the garden centres and the coffee shops and the cafes that are all flourishing. To be fair, I've seen a massive uplift. Certainly with the weather last week, that made a difference. Obviously, we're coming into warmer climes now, and hopefully, the gloves are off and let's go for it.
Well, I think the clock's going back, and then we've got Easter. There's a natural sort of, I think the staycation thing last year will have helped. If people's attitude is, well, actually, I enjoyed my holidays in the UK last year, let's stay. You need all those sort of independent, like you say, little cafes and farm shops and drop-in places that people are out when they're on a walk and all that kind of stuff. So, long may that continue, really. So what's next in terms of, you've got your core 5. Do you want to tell us what your core sort of products are then? You mentioned lemon curd. That's a fabulous product, lemon curd.
We've got 5 marmalades, a thin coat, a thick cut, a 3 fruit, an orange and ginger, and an orange and whiskey. And the 3 fruit, orange, lemon, and grapefruit is probably the best seller in there.
Right.
And we've got 5 jams: strawberry and champagne, plum and port, blackberry and apple, a strawberry and a raspberry. It's something different, really, something with a bit of an edge rather than just your bog standard flavors. 5 chutneys: apricot and ale, orchard apple chutney, harvest chutney, a couple of others, and then 5 relishes: a tomato relish, a mustard seeds, a piccalilli, a red onion relish. But all these are the relishes are all made in small pans, and they're basically nurtured like the lemon curd. You can't mass produce lemon curd. You have to treat it with love and respect.
You have to give it some Reet Yorkshire love then, do you, to get
it
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. I mean, there's other things like lime curd and various other ones. So have you got any immediate plans to add to that range, or are you going to just continue to develop the strength of those?
I think we what we're being asked for, like a lime curd and an orange curd. That's probably the next one, to expand the range of curds. At the moment, we're focusing on getting the contract packing job right. Get a few orders under our belt. It gives us the chance to then spend some money on expanding the brand.
I tell you what, Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You're an inspiration for many who, despite the fact that there was such an early setback, massive setback to the business with your health and the sad loss of your partner, and then obviously try to work through COVID. You've shared with us some really insightful things around, as I say, changing your life one jar of jam or chutney at a time. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you. For those who are regular watchers or observers of the Impact sessions, you'll see on the screen where you can access that. It's on all of the usual popular podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, etc. If you consume this by audio, as many do, then that information will be in the show notes. My contact details as podcast host are on the next screen, as indeed Martin's. If you're looking to expand your range of foods or independent support for contract food manufacturers, etc., then you could do a lot worse than talk to a plain speaking Reet Yorkshireman from Reet Yorkshire Foods. Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to share my experience and welcome you and share the journey. I'm really looking forward to the next stage. Thank you, Nick. Good luck with your health going forward, and good luck with your distracting wedding. Hope I don't put too much weight on. Cheers, mate. See you later. Thank you. Cheers.